Ben Torres wiped the sweat from his forehead as he stared at the data screen in front of him. The research vessel Horizon hummed quietly around him as it drifted through the outer edge of the Kepler system. For 3 months, Ben had been studying alien plant samples collected from various planets. As the ship's lead xenobiologist, his job was to understand how life forms developed in different environments across the galaxy. The work was important, but sometimes Ben felt lonely out here in space. His team was small, and most days he spent hours alone in his lab, looking through microscopes and running tests. He had joined this mission hoping to discover something amazing that would help humanity understand their place in the universe. Ben never expected that something amazing would find him first. The communication alert chimed softly on his workstation. Ben looked up from his samples, expecting another routine message from the ship's captain or maybe an update from Earth. Instead, his screen displayed something he had never seen before. An incoming transmission marked as unknown alien origin, direct personal contact. Ben's heart began beating faster. In his 5 years as a xenobiologist, he had studied plenty of alien life forms, but none of them had ever tried to contact him directly. Most of the species humanity had encountered were either not intelligent enough for conversation, or too different to communicate with human technology. Computer, run a security scan on this transmission, Ben said aloud. The ship's artificial intelligence responded in its calm voice. Security scan complete. Transmission appears to contain a translation matrix and poses no immediate threat to ship systems. The signal is requesting permission to establish communication. With xenobiologist Ben Torres specifically, Ben's eyes widened. Whatever was trying to contact him knew his name and his job title. That was either very impressive or very concerning. Accept the transmission, Ben said. Settling into his chair, the screen flickered, and suddenly Ben was looking at something that took his breath away. A tall, elegant figure appeared before him, clearly not human, but beautiful in an otherworldly way. Her skin seemed to be made of living crystal that shifted between deep blue and silver colors. Her eyes were large and bright like stars, and her hair moved like flowing water even though there was no wind. Greetings, Dr. Torres, the being said, and her voice was like music. I am Zara, Queen of the Vorthic Empire. I apologize for contacting you without permission, but I have been watching your species for some time, and I believe you may be the only one who can help me. Ben tried to speak but found his mouth dry. He had dreamed of first contact with an intelligent alien species, but he never imagined it would happen like this. Finally, he managed to find his voice. Your Majesty, he said. Not sure if that was the right way to address an alien queen. This is unexpected. How do you know about me? Zara's expression was sad, even though her face was quite different from a human's. My people have been monitoring your planet's communications for many years. We have watched your television broadcasts, your scientific papers, and your research missions. Among all the humans we have observed, you show the greatest understanding of how different life forms adapt and survive. Thank you, Ben said, still trying to process what was happening. But why are you contacting me? Is this about establishing diplomatic relations between our species? The Crystal Queen shook her head slowly. I wish it were that simple, Dr. Torres. My people are dying, and I believe your unique human perspective might be the key to saving them. Ben leaned forward in his chair. What do you mean? What's wrong with your people? Zara was quiet for a moment, and Ben could see pain in her star-like eyes. 300 years ago, MY people developed a wonderful technology that allowed us to link our minds together. We could share thoughts, emotions, and knowledge instantly. It made us stronger, smarter, and more unified than ever before. That sounds amazing, Ben said. It was, for a time, Zara continued. But then something went wrong. The neural linking began causing a disease in our bodies. When to Vorthic connect their minds now, both begin to suffer cellular damage that eventually leads to death. The longer the connection, the worse the damage becomes. Ben felt a chill run down his spine as he began to understand the implications. So your people can no longer safely interact with each other? Exactly, Zara said, her voice becoming even sadder. We have become a species of isolated individuals. We can communicate through technology like we are doing now, but we cannot touch. We cannot truly connect, and we cannot form the bonds that once made us strong. My people live alone on separate ships, slowly dying of loneliness. Ben thought about how terrible it would be to never be able to safely touch another person, or share a close connection. Humans were social creatures, and isolation was one of the worst punishments they could imagine. For an entire species to face this fate was heartbreaking. "I'm so sorry," Ben said sincerely, "but I still don't understand how I can help. I'm just a biologist." Zara's eyes seemed to brighten slightly. "Dr. Torres, we have been studying human neural patterns through your broadcasts and communications. Your brains work very differently from ours. We believe that a human might be able to interface with our technology without suffering the same deadly effects." Ben's mind raced as he considered what she was suggesting. "You want me to test your neural linking technology?" "More than that," Zara said. "I want you to work with me as my research partner. Together, we might be able to find a solution that allows my people to reconnect safely. You would bring the human perspective that we desperately need." The request was enormous. Ben would have to leave his ship, travel to an alien vessel, and work with technology that had proven deadly to its creators. It was dangerous and uncertain, but it was also the opportunity of a lifetime. "Where are you located?" Ben asked. "My bioship is 3 days' travel from your current position," Sarah replied. "I understand this is a significant request, Dr. Torres. You would be leaving everything familiar to help a species you have never met. But I believe this partnership could benefit both our peoples greatly." Ben stood up and began pacing around his small lab. 3 days ago, his biggest concern had been whether the plant samples from Kepler-4 contained the right proteins. Now an alien queen was asking him to help save her entire civilization. "How long would this partnership last?" he asked. "That would depend on our progress," Zara said. "It could be weeks, months, or longer. I cannot predict how long it will take to find a solution, if one exists at all." Ben stopped pacing and looked directly at the beautiful alien queen on his screen. There was something in her eyes that went beyond the suffering of her people. She looked deeply lonely in a way that Ben recognized. He had felt that same loneliness during long months in space, far from family and friends. But for Zara, that loneliness had lasted 3 centuries. "I need to speak with my captain and get approval for this mission," Ben said finally. "Of course," Zara replied. "But Dr. Torres, I hope you understand the urgency of our situation. Every day that passes, more of my people lose hope. Some have even chosen to end their lives rather than continue existing in complete isolation." The weight of responsibility settled on Ben's shoulders. This was not just about scientific discovery anymore. Real lives were at stake. "I'll do everything I can to get approval quickly," Ben promised. "Thank you," Zara said, and for the first time, something like a smile appeared on her crystalline features. "I will send you the coordinates for our meeting location. When you arrive, I will personally ensure your safety and comfort." The transmission ended, leaving Ben alone in his lab with his thoughts spinning. He had spent years studying alien life forms, but he had always been the observer, looking at creatures that could not look back. Now he was being asked to step into an alien world as an active participant. Ben walked to the observation window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, an entire species was suffering from isolation and loneliness. A queen who had ruled for centuries was reaching out to him, a simple biologist from Earth. As her last hope, the decision, Ben realized, had already been made. He could not turn away from such suffering, and he could not pass up the chance to help bridge the species in a way that had never been attempted before. Ben activated his communication system to contact Captain Rodriguez on the bridge. "Captain, I need to speak with you immediately. We've just received an extraordinary opportunity that could change everything we know about interspecies cooperation." 30 minutes later, Ben sat in the captain's ready room, explaining the situation to Captain Rodriguez and the ship's senior officers. The discussion was intense, with many concerns raised about safety, protocol, and Ben's qualifications for such a mission. This is completely outside our original research parameters, said Dr. Kim, the ship's chief medical officer. We have no way to ensure Ben's safety aboard an alien vessel. But we also have no way to pass up this opportunity, replied Commander Singh, the ship's first officer. This could be the most important breakthrough in human-alien relations in history. Captain Rodriguez listened carefully to all the arguments before making her decision. Ben, this is your choice. I can give you permission to pursue this partnership, but you need to understand the risks. You would be completely on your own, working with technology we don't understand. Aboard a ship we can't reach quickly if something goes wrong. Ben nodded. I understand the risks, Captain, but I also understand what's at stake. If I can help save the Vorthic species, and if this partnership can strengthen relations between humans and aliens, then it's worth the risk. Very well, Captain Rodriguez said. I'm authorizing this mission, but I want daily check-ins, and if anything seems dangerous, you return to this ship immediately. 2 days later, Ben stood in the Horizon shuttle bay, carrying a small bag containing everything he thought he might need for an extended stay. Aboard an alien vessel, his stomach was filled with butterflies, but his mind was clear and focused. The Vorthic bioship appeared on the view screen as their shuttle approached, and Ben gasped at the sight. It was enormous, at least 10 times the size of the Horizon, and it looked more like a living creature than a spacecraft. Its hull seemed to pulse gently, and organic-looking structures branched out from the main body like the arms of a sea creature. Dr. Torres, came Zara's voice over the communication system. Welcome to the Eternal Garden. Please follow the guidance signals to the docking bay. As the shuttle settled into the bioship's docking bay, Ben saw that even the walls around him seemed alive, with soft lighting that moved like veins through translucent material. The air that came through the airlock smelled fresh and clean, like a forest after rain. Zara was waiting for him as he stepped off the shuttle, and Ben was struck by how much more impressive she was in person. She stood nearly 7 feet tall, and her crystalline skin caught the bioship's organic lighting in beautiful patterns. Dr. Torres, she said, extending a hand in what Ben recognized as a human greeting gesture. Thank you for accepting my invitation. I hope your journey was comfortable. Ben shook her hand, surprised by how warm it felt despite its crystal appearance. Please, call me Ben, and thank you for this opportunity, Your Majesty. Please, just Zara, she replied with that musical voice. Come, let me show you to your quarters, and then we can begin our work together. As Zara led him through the corridors of her bioship, Ben marveled at everything around him. The walls were covered in beautiful patterns that seemed to grow and change as they walked. Soft music played from somewhere he could not identify, and the temperature was perfectly comfortable. This ship is incredible, Ben said. It feels alive. It is alive, in a way, Zara explained. Vorthic technology grows rather than being built. This ship has been my home for over 2 centuries, and it has adapted to my needs and preferences over time. They stopped at a door that opened silently as they approached. Inside was a chamber that had clearly been prepared for a human occupant. The furniture was the right size, the lighting was comfortable for human eyes, and Ben could even see what looked like earth plants growing in containers near the window. I hope this will be adequate, Zara said. I studied your species' habitat preferences and tried to create something familiar for you. It's perfect, Ben said, genuinely touched by the effort she had made. Thank you. Rest tonight, Zara said. Tomorrow, we begin our work together. I will show you our neural linking technology and explain exactly what we are trying to solve. Together, Ben Torres, I believe we can accomplish something that neither of our species could achieve alone. As the door closed behind her, Ben sat on the bed and looked around his new temporary home. He was farther from Earth than any human had ever been, aboard an alien vessel, preparing to work with technology that could potentially kill him. But for the first time in months, Ben did not feel lonely. He felt like he was exactly where he was meant to be. Ben woke to the gentle sound of alien music flowing through his quarters aboard the Eternal Garden. Soft blue light filtered through the organic walls, creating patterns that reminded him of sunlight through water. He had slept better than expected for his first night on an alien vessel, though his dreams had been filled with crystalline faces and star-like eyes. A soft chime indicated someone was at his door. "Come in," Ben called, and the door slid open to reveal Zara carrying what appeared to be a breakfast tray. "Good morning, Ben," she said, her musical voice filled with what sounded like genuine happiness. "I brought you something to eat. I analyzed the nutritional content of human foods from your broadcasts and created something that should be both healthy and familiar." Ben sat up, touched by her thoughtfulness. The tray contained items that looked remarkably like scrambled eggs, toast, and fresh fruit. Though he suspected they were made from entirely alien ingredients. "This is very kind of you, Zara. You didn't need to bring me breakfast personally." Zara set the tray down and moved to the window, her crystalline form catching the light beautifully. "I wanted to. It has been so long since I had someone to care for, someone to share meals with. Even through the walls and distance, having another consciousness nearby feels wonderful." Ben noticed a slight sadness in her voice and realized how profound her isolation had been. 3 centuries without meaningful companionship would drive anyone to desperation. "Well, I appreciate it," Ben said, tasting the alien breakfast. It was surprisingly delicious. "When can we start working on your people's condition?" Zara's eyes brightened immediately. "Right now, if you wish. I have prepared everything in our main laboratory. I am eager to show you what we have discovered and to see what your human perspective might reveal." After breakfast, Zara led Ben through more corridors filled with organic architecture and flowing designs. The bioship was massive, and Ben realized they were walking through only a small section of it. "How many people normally live on a ship this size?" Ben asked. "In the old days, before our condition, this ship housed nearly 1,000 Vorthik." Zara replied, "We lived together, worked together, shared thoughts and dreams. Now it is just me, alone with automated systems and distant communication with my people on other ships." They entered a vast chamber filled with equipment that looked like a combination of advanced technology and living organism. Crystalline structures grew from the walls and floor, connected by what appeared to be veins carrying glowing fluid. In the center of the room stood a chair surrounded by delicate, flower-like devices that pulsed with soft light. "This is our neural interface," Zara explained. "When my people were healthy, 2 or more of us could sit in these chairs and link our minds completely. We could share knowledge, emotions, even memories. It was the most beautiful experience imaginable." Ben walked around the chair, studying the alien technology with fascination. "And now, when Vorthik tried to link, they both suffer cellular damage?" "Exactly. The connection that once brought us together now destroys us." Zara touched one of the crystalline structures gently. "We have run thousands of tests, tried countless modifications, but nothing works. The neural pattern that allows the link also triggers the deadly reaction." "May I see the data from your tests?" Ben asked. For the next several hours, Zara showed Ben everything her people had discovered about their condition. The science was incredibly advanced, far beyond anything humans had developed. But Ben began to see patterns that the Vorthik had missed. "Your people have been trying to fix the technology," Ben said finally. "But what if the problem isn't the technology itself? What if it's how your brains have evolved to use it?" Zara tilted her head curiously. "What do you mean?" "Humans develop individually before we learn to work together," Ben explained. "We have to learn cooperation and communication as separate skills. But your people evolved to link minds naturally. Your brains became dependent on that connection. Yes, that is true. We have always been a unified species. So when the linking started causing problems, your brains didn't know how to function independently," Ben continued. "The cellular damage might be happening because your neural patterns are trying to maintain a connection that's being forced apart." Zara stared at him in amazement. "You think the problem is not that we cannot link, but that we cannot learn to exist separately?" "Exactly. Humans have something your people never needed to develop, the ability to be complete individuals who choose to connect with others, rather than beings who must connect to feel complete." This was a breakthrough that the Vorthik had never considered. For the next week, Ben and Zara worked together intensively, developing new approaches based on human psychological development. They created training programs that would teach Vorthik how to be comfortable in their own minds. Before attempting to link with others, Ben found the work fascinating and deeply rewarding. More than that, he enjoyed working with Zara. Despite being an alien queen, she was curious, intelligent, and surprisingly funny. She asked endless questions about human behavior and culture, and she seemed genuinely interested in everything Ben had to say. "Tell me more about human friendship," Zara said one evening as they shared dinner in her quarters. "How do you form bonds without sharing thoughts directly?" "We talk, like we're doing now," Ben said. "We share experiences, spend time together, help each other through difficult times. It's slower than your mind linking, but it allows each person to remain individual while still forming strong connections." "It sounds wonderful," Zara said wistfully. "I have never experienced that kind of gradual discovery of another person." Ben realized that in their week of working together, he and Zara had been forming exactly that kind of friendship. Despite their different species, they had found common ground in their love of science and their desire to help others. After 2 weeks of research and development, they achieved their first major success. Ben volunteered to test a modified version of the neural interface, one designed to work with human brain patterns. To their amazement, he was able to connect safely with the ship's computer systems without any harmful effects. "This is incredible," Zara said, her excitement obvious. "Your neural pattern is completely compatible with our technology, but stable in a way ours are not. Now we can use this data to develop training that will help your people achieve the same stability," Ben said. "We can teach them to think more like humans do, as individuals who choose to connect." Their breakthrough was everything Zara had hoped for and more. But as they began preparing to test their solution with volunteer Vorthik subjects, Ben noticed a change in Zara's behavior. "I have decided to extend our research timeline," she announced one morning. "There are many more applications we should explore before you return to your ship." Ben looked up from his work, surprised. "We've already solved the main problem, Zara. Your people can start learning the new techniques right away." "Yes, but we should be thorough," Zara said quickly. "What if there are side effects we haven't discovered? What if the training needs refinement? We cannot rush something this important." Ben sensed there was more to her reluctance than scientific caution, but he agreed to continue working. Their success had been remarkable, and additional research could certainly be valuable. However, over the next few days, Ben noticed more concerning changes. Zara began assigning him quarters closer to her own. She extended their daily work sessions longer and longer. She found new projects and research questions that required his immediate attention. When Ben suggested contacting the Horizon to share their breakthrough, Zara became agitated. "Not yet," she said firmly. "We need more data. Your captain will want you to return immediately if she knows we have succeeded." "But we are not finished here." Ben realized what was happening. Zara had been alone for 3 centuries, and now she had found someone who could safely provide companionship. The thought of losing that connection was terrifying to her. "Zara," Ben said gently one evening, "we need to talk about something important." She looked up from her work with those bright, star-like eyes. "What is it? You're afraid I'm going to leave, aren't you?" Zara's crystalline form went very still. "I do not know what you mean. You've been extending our research, finding new projects, moving my quarters closer to yours. You don't want me to return to my ship." For a long moment, Zara said nothing. Then, slowly, her regal composure cracked. "You are right," she whispered. "For 300 years, I have been completely alone. I have ruled my people from a distance, communicated through cold technology, never feeling the warmth of true companionship. And now, for the first time in centuries, I have someone who can be near me, someone who understands me." Ben could hear the pain in her voice, and his heart ached for her. "I know it is selfish," Zara continued. "I know you have your own life, your own mission. But the thought of returning to complete isolation after experiencing this friendship terrifies me." Ben set down his work and moved closer to her. "Zara, I understand your fear. But what you're describing isn't friendship, it's captivity." She looked up at him. confusion in her alien features. I do not understand. True friendship means wanting what's best for the other person, even when it's difficult for you, Ben explained. It means supporting their growth and freedom, not trying to control them. But if you leave, I will be alone again, only if you choose to be, Ben said. Zara, we've developed a cure for your people's condition. Soon, you'll be able to safely connect with thousands of other Vorthok. You won't need to depend on me for companionship. Zara was quiet for several minutes, processing what he had said. But it will not be the same. They are my subjects, my responsibility. With you, I can simply be Zara, not the queen who must solve everyone's problems. Ben smiled. That's exactly why you need to let me go. You need to learn how to form healthy relationships with your own people. Relationships based on choice rather than necessity. How do I do that? The same way humans do, Ben said. You start by being honest about your feelings. You let people choose to spend time with you because they want to, not because they have to. You show interest in their lives and dreams, not just their service to you. Over the next week, Ben worked with Zara not just on the technical aspects of their cure, but on the emotional skills she would need to form healthy relationships. He taught her about human concepts like personal boundaries, mutual respect, and the difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is feeling disconnected even when people are around, Ben explained. Solitude is being comfortable with yourself when you're alone. Healthy people can enjoy both company and solitude. I have never learned to be comfortable with solitude, Zara admitted. For my people, being alone was always unnatural. Then that's another skill you can develop. Ben said, learning to enjoy your own company will make your relationships with others stronger, not weaker. As their final week together approached, Zara began to change. She started communicating more openly with her people, sharing not just orders and information, but personal thoughts and feelings. She began making plans for how she would implement their cure, and how she would rebuild the social connections that her people had lost. I have been thinking about what you said, she told Ben one evening, about friendship being a choice rather than a necessity, and I realize that I have not been giving you a choice. I have been trying to keep you here through manipulation and extension of our work, rather than earning your friendship through respect and care. Ben smiled. That's a big realization, Zara. I want to do better. I want to learn how to be the kind of friend you would choose to keep, even across the vastness of space. On their last day together, Zara made an announcement that surprised Ben. I am establishing a permanent cultural exchange program between the Vorthok Empire and humanity. She said, we will create a research station at the border between our territories, where scientists and diplomats from both species can work together and learn from each other. That's a wonderful idea, Ben said, and I would like to formally invite you to serve as the human director of this program, if you choose to accept. But this time, it would be a true choice, with scheduled rotations back to Earth in full support from both our peoples. Ben was touched by the offer. I would be honored to consider it, Zara. Good. That means our friendship will not end when you leave today. It will simply change form, as Ben prepared to return to the horizon. Zara accompanied him to the shuttle bay. She had prepared a gift, a small crystal device, that would allow them to communicate across any distance. This is not to trap you or demand constant contact, she said. It is simply to let you know that you will always have a friend among the stars. If you choose to call on that friendship, Ben hugged the tall alien queen goodbye, marveling at how much both of them had grown during their time together. Thank you, Zara, for trusting me, for teaching me about your people, and for learning to let me go. Thank you, Ben Torres, she replied, for showing me that the best way to keep someone close is to set them free. As Ben's shuttle departed the Eternal Garden, he looked back at the massive bioship and smiled. Behind him, he left an alien queen who was no longer afraid of solitude and who was about to reunite her. People and healthy, chosen connections. Ahead of him lay new adventures, and the possibility of building bridges between species in ways that honored both unity and independence. It was, Ben thought, the most human solution of all. 3 months later, Ben received a message through Zara's crystal device. She was reporting that the cure was working perfectly, that her people were learning to balance individual strength with chosen connection, and that the first permanent research station was nearly complete. She signed the message simply, "Your friend across the stars." Zara, Ben smiled and began composing his reply, looking forward to many years of friendship, collaboration, and mutual respect between their peoples.